Hello, my name is Esther Robinson. A gift I will never forget was given to me by my parents and my sister Sylvia on my 20th birthday. Sylvia has always been their perfect child. That's the kind of gift that still wakes me up at night. They didn't just stop following me. They carefully planned a show with family and friends as witnesses to cut me off from both the family and the family wealth with the skill of a skilled surgeon using a scalpel. None of my school awards were put on show. Instead, Sylvia's ribbons of involvement were laid out proudly on the shelves in that huge dining room. But you'd have to go back years to understand how bad that birthday dinner was. No, 20 years. There were signs all over. Now they look terribly clear. I couldn't see any of it back then, though. They called me together a week before my 20th birthday. To start, my mother said, "Esther, honey," in a sweet voice that faked warmth. "You're going to have a great 20th birthday. You have to go home right away. There's a surprise ahead." "That's right, girl."
My dad joined in.
"It's not just going to be a family party. We need to talk to you about something important. Something to plan for the future. Let's have a Saturday dinner with the whole family. Sylvia is going to be there. We also invited some family and friends." "What's the big deal?" I asked because I was suspicious. Do parents need a reason to enjoy the birthday of their daughter? My mom laughed in a strange way. "Esther, you need to be there at 6 o'clock and wear the dress we gave you for Christmas last year. The blue one. That dress was too conservative and cost too much." I felt like a high school girl trying to be a rich man's daughter. It was awful. Although I felt uneasy, I tried to push it down by telling myself that it was joy for their surprise and important talk. I was naive to think that they were going to talk about my future in a serious and good way. On my birthday morning, I got dressed in that awful blue dress in my room. It felt like the fabric was heavier than I remembered. It felt like each thread held the weight of goals I could never meet. When I got home at 5:45 p.m., I put my old Honda in a spot between Sylvia's Audi and Aunt Virginia's Mercedes-Benz. The house was full of the energy of family members who had come together. The best Wedgwood china, real silverware, and crystal champagne flutes that caught the late afternoon light were set out on the dining room table inside. Everything in it was saved for the most serious events. Without a doubt, something was wrong. Sylvia walked up to me and kissed my cheek. I had never seen her in a dress as bright and beautiful as the red one she was wearing, and her perfume hit me like a pricey engagement ring. Brave, angry, and impossible to overlook. She said in a whisper, "Happy birthday, Esther. Tonight will be one you'll never forget." I felt ice rush through my blood when she said it that way. A steady stream of guests showed up. Uncle Solomon and Aunt Virginia, my cousin Trevor and his new wife, the women from my mom's bridge club, and the golf friends of my dad who wear Rolex watches and don't like anything too modern. No longer did everyone look at me with the mix of pity and slight disapproval that I was used to, but with something else that made me feel like goodbye. Right on time, at 6 o'clock, my mom tapped her champagne glass. The room went silent right away. "Thank you all for joining us for Esther's 20th birthday," she said. Her smile was perfect and scary. "As many of you may know, this past year has been a clear one for our family." My dad stood up and joined her at the head of the table, and I was speechless. Sylvia kept touching my arm as if she thought I might run away. "Julianne and I have spent a lot of time making our estate plans," my father said in his loud, formal voice that always made me feel small. "We've made a promise to be open and honest with our children about their futures," which made my heart start to beat faster. "We have reached a formal decision on the distribution of our estate," my mother said next. Her gray eyes locked on mine with a scientific focus. "We made our choice after giving it a lot of thought to their sense of duty, their ability to become financially independent, and how well it fits with our family values." My dad turned to my sister and said, "Sylvia has shown a lot of maturity. One example is how she just got engaged to Marvin. He did get his MBA at Harvard, and now he works at Goldman Sachs. Sylvia takes a very practical and grounded approach to building wealth that will last for generations." He paused, letting the difference between him and my art student boyfriend at Penn Niles hang in the air. "The main house, the summer home on Lake Champlain, and 75% of our cash and investments will be given to Sylvia." Then there was polite clapping. Sylvia's face shone with real happiness, not just contentment, but pure victory. I didn't feel anything, like I was seeing the whole thing through thick glass. When my mom talked about Esther, she lowered her voice in a way that I'm sure she thought showed pity. We plan to set up a small trust for schooling. This will let Esther finish her degree and, if she wants, go on to graduate school. That is, of course, if she keeps up a certain GPA, meets with our financial advisor regularly, and talks about her academic progress. Please give more applause. My dad also said that the last 25% would be kept in a separate trust. Esther will be able to use those funds when she turns 30, but only if certain things happen. Some of these are getting a college degree, finding a stable job in a field that will not drain our finances, and marrying a suitable partner recommended by our financial advisor. As she raised her glass, my mom said, "This arrangement makes sure that our family's legacy will be carried on by the child who is best suited to uphold our standards and values." To Sylvia. To Sylvia. The room shook, and the soft clink of champagne glasses could be heard like my own bell tolling. It was like a quiet bell for a funeral. Family members told Sylvia how happy they were for her and said things to me that they probably thought were encouraging. "You're lucky that your parents are paying for your schooling. After some time has passed, you'll understand." Then my dad laughed in that cold, rude way he only did with people he thought were beneath him. He said, "We had too high of hopes. This is just a formal confirmation of something we've known for years. We hoped you would become someone of value." At that moment, I got it. I wasn't their kid. I was just a bother, a needy person. I have no idea how long it's been. It seemed like a long time. I quietly got up from my place and went to the bathroom. I saw myself in that blue dress in the mirror. The girl wasn't the same, though. It wasn't the girl who was hurt. Someone had already decided what she wanted to do. I went back to the dining room. There wasn't anyone else there yet, but my parents came in soon after. My mom held out a piece of paper. She said, "Sign this with ease. The lawyer's work is done. This is just for show." I read the paper that was given to me. It officially took away any inheritance rights I had and had clauses waiving all rights to challenge. With each sentence, I felt better. It was finally over. They didn't have to agree with me. I didn't need their love. "Thank you," I said in a low voice. "I can now see who you are." Years have gone by while I begged for love that never came. It's over for me. I signed the paper with the Mont Blanc pen my dad gave me. After putting the paper back on the table, I picked up my bag and slowly walked away. "Where are you going?" My mom lost it. "The party is still going on." I replied right away, without turning around. "It is for me. It was actually over a long time ago. You just didn't say it out loud." I left the room. One thing was something that no one could take away from me. A quiet, unwavering pride. At a quiet cafe 3 blocks away, things finally became real. As I placed my coffee order, my hands started to shake, and a dull pain started to grow in my heart. My phone kept beeping. Message after message from my family showed up. "No need to be so emotional. Your response only shows that we made the right choice. Just as emotional as always. You should be thankful. You're always thinking about yourself." The original Esther. Even though I grew up in a wealthy home, my parents were very traditional and put looks, money, and social standing above all else. Contributing to society and being creative were seen as bothersome distractions by them. Their perfect daughter was my sister Sylvia, who lived up to all of their hopes and goals. She was 3 years older than me and could always tell what our parents wanted to hear and say it perfectly. As long as I can remember, our family's power structure was based on an unexplainable bias toward one person over another. My report cards were more straight, and I got a flat, "Oh, that's nice." But Sylvia's C- got her praise and treats. There were diplomas and science medals all over the walls of my bedroom, but our parents were very complimentary of Sylvia's average watercolor drawings. "Why don't you act more like your sister?"
was what my mom kept saying.
When I was 12, the break could no longer be fixed. Because of a school project, I suggested starting a recycling program at home. My mom lost it. "They're there to clean the house." He didn't like the idea because he thought it was dangerous socialism. I got first place at the state science fair on my 10th birthday, which I will never forget. It was clear that my parents were mad. Sylvia has a dance practice at 4, so that's what her mom said, and they left the venue early. Dad warned me, don't get too cocky with this science stuff. People who think they're smarter than everyone else don't get rewarded. That night, my birthday and victory were ignored in favor of a fancy party for Sylvia. I learned early on that success wasn't something to be celebrated. It was something to be punished for. When I was 15, I put together a fundraiser for needy students. My dad tore up the check and said, "We don't hang out with people like that." When I was in high school, I led climate action rallies and did a lot of volunteer work. My parents asked me, "Can't you find a hobby that doesn't bring in such weird people?" The difference in income was just as big. Sylvia got a brand new luxury car when she was 16. I walked or took the bus. She wore designer clothes, but mine were from clearance racks. Her allowance was big, and I worked at the library to pay for basic things. When I got a scholarship to an architecture program at a state university, my parents were upset that I hadn't chosen a more prestigious school. They didn't care about how my choices helped me, they cared about how those choices looked to other people. College was the first place where I learned real independence and freedom. I studied architecture and environmental science at the same time, which was against what my parents taught me, and they wouldn't pay for it. Even though I worked several jobs and got almost perfect grades, the distance between us grew.